I love the liveliness, the constant feeling of energy.
Definitely the world-class education.
The diversity. Nah, the nightlife.
I would say the people.
For me, it's the stories. My name is Waja, and welcome to Toronto Story Archive. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Toronto Story Archive. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. Not like, oh my god, I totally want to be Chris Hemsworth. Although, if I were to want to be an actor, it would almost definitely be Simon Baker. He's the dude who played Patrick Jane on The Mentalist. He's got impeccable taste, and I don't say this lightly, his hair game might actually be better than mine. Too bad The Mentalist got so repetitive halfway through. I know I castle. Actually, another one would be Matt Bomer, but like the cool version, when he was Bryce Larkin in Chuck. Not like the white collar version or the American Horror Story version. Well, maybe the American Horror Story version. But I digress. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor, or a singer, or an author, or a combination of all three. In fact, when I moved to Toronto, I even went so far as to join acting classes with an agency. They were complete rubbish. Would not recommend. But eventually, when the time came for the quote-unquote graduation, we were offered the strong opportunity to pay for a plane ticket to New York, to pay to attend this fashion show that we could maybe, possibly, but not really, be a part of. I pitched this idea to my parents. I was 17 at the time, and was just stunned when they point-blank refused to foot the bill, and so ended my short career as an actor. Since then, I've completed business school and moved into a career as a marketer and professional speaker. And it's in that last that things come full circle, that things get interesting. You see, the dreams and desires that are born throughout our lives, we push them down or away, we put them on the back burner or set them aside in the name of practicality. But somehow they always find their way back. It is, at this stage of the game, very unlikely that I'll ever become an actor. My voice is fit only for things like this podcast, or karaoke mics. It's barely fit for Statlers. I've become an author, but of a guide to public speaking rather than the sci-fi, fantasy, romance novels I dreamed of creating. I actually drafted like 4 of those. They will never see the light of day, obviously. But in the end, I found my stage. It might be to inform, instruct, and empower rather than to directly entertain. I might play myself rather than a character in a film, but I found my stage nonetheless. It is in enterprises like this podcast that I found my voice, and this week's guest has certainly found his. This week, I have the pleasure of chatting with Michel Neray. Michel is a professional speaker, the founder of Mo Mondays Global, the host of Mo Mondays Toronto, and, as it turns out, is pretty dope on the uke. Coming at us from Midtown Toronto, welcome, Michel.
Hey, Mo. Thank you for having me.
Michel, it's a pleasure to have you here, man. How's it going? How are you doing today?
Well, you know what? It's the weather is lifting. The sun is coming out. And I'm ready to go on vacation, and things are pretty good.
That's fantastic. I mean, man, I dream of vacation. The last vacation I went on was like vacation-esque. I went on this trip with one of the organizations I worked for, and we went to Mexico for about a week. It was pretty sweet. It was interspersed with work. It was a bit of work, a bit of play, but I mean, it was Mexico, so you can't really complain, right?
Well, anytime you get to go someplace south is awesome, but I have to be honest with you. It's pretty hard to get me to go on vacation. For me, vacation is like I walk out of my house, I walk downtown 6 or 7 kilometers, and explore the neighborhood. For me, I love that. That's a vacation to me.
Okay, that's fair. And I think that a big part of that comes down to the fact that we live in a truly fantastic city. So with that in mind, Michel, what is one thing you love about Toronto?
I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I knew you were, but I can't narrow it down to one thing, because the one thing I like about Toronto is all the different things about Toronto. Toronto, so let's be clear. I wasn't born here. I was born in another fabulous city called Montreal. Moved here about 30 years ago and change.
Mm-hmm.
And I have come to love this city for a whole bunch of reasons. And I think it could be summed up in one word, but it applies to a whole bunch of different things.
Okay.
And the one word is the diversity. Now, you probably know, and people who know this city know, that Toronto is renowned for its diversity of culture, diversity of languages. I remember reading somewhere that some statistic that 52%, so more than half the population of Toronto, is made up of people who were born outside of the country. We are a unique...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty cool, huh? Unique city of immigrants. And that colors, no pun intended, but colors just about everything. Yeah, I know. It was unintended. I'm sorry. But that colors just about everything in this city. So, yes, it's the obvious thing about the diversity of literally of cultures, of cuisine, restaurants, phenomenal. But there's also the diversity of music that's in the city. And I like that for me is one of the big things that make this city so great. I am a big fan of this city. So I'm the guy that when my friends from out of town come to Toronto, I'm the guy who says, "Oh, please, can I drive you around? Please, can I show you some spots of Toronto that you won't find on the tour? Well, you'll find on some tourist maps, but you know what? CN Tower is great. Good for it. If you've never done it, go do it. Great, wonderful. But come with me, please. Let me drive you around to all the different neighborhoods. Please let me take you downtown or someplace on an evening to check out this live music venue that my wife and I found." You know, people make fun of us. Our friends make fun of us because they check out Facebook and they say, "Michel and Barbara, you are out pretty much every single night of the week." And we say, "Yeah, we are. We are. We do. We do a whole bunch of stuff in this city."
No, it's true. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when I first met my fiance, when we started, talking to each other, started hanging out, it was on the premise of the fact that she had just moved here from Ottawa, and she was like, "Yeah, so, I need someone to take me around Toronto. I need a tour guide." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can absolutely take you around Toronto. Let me tell you, it's been like 2 years. Still hasn't happened. Still hasn't happened. But I mean, I've taken her some places, but they're mostly like fun party places. Not really, anything beyond that, because that's what I do. I mean, she's seen the inside of some sports complexes, I suppose, but otherwise, yeah. No, but it's true. Diversity is a good word. Diversity of experience, diversity of music, diversity of everything around us, because the exciting thing about Toronto is that it is this amalgamation of a variety of cultures and perspectives and ideas and people that are all brought into one place and interact almost seamlessly. You can easily walk from, Greek town all the way through into the downtown core, all the way to Little Italy. There are those options out there. And when you talk about music, for someone like myself who moved here from a much smaller city, from North Bay, the music itself was news to me. Like soca, for example. Let me tell you, they do not have soca in North Bay. I had never experienced soca exactly before I came here to North Bay. And arriving here in Toronto gave me the opportunity to touch on a number of those experiences that have fundamentally changed, I guess, who I am as a person. So, I mean, I am still, though, almost 10 years into living in Toronto, but I would still consider myself unfamiliar with the music scene in the city. So, I mean, as someone a little bit more experienced in that scene, can you tell us a bit about it? What is that like? What is the Toronto music scene?
So I only know what I know. And there's so much to do in this city, and there's so much to listen to in this city. All I can tell you is this city has such an incredible amount of talent, musical and performance talent. It's just unbelievable. So pretty much anywhere we go, we just pick a place and we check it out, or we look at the listings, or we go online. There's some Facebook groups for local music in Toronto, local music, or Music Toronto. Just go to one of those Facebook groups, and there's so much to do. And once we got into it, we started meeting people. I tell you, the musicians that we have met have enriched our lives immeasurably. So, whether it's and also I have to tell you, so it's not just music with musicians. I mean, there's Toronto. I think is like the karaoke capital of this continent.
I can buy that.
So, and wherever you go, there are amazing singers, there are amazing musicians. So I don't know where to start. Where do you want to start? The other day I ran into Jason Rowland, who runs an amazing karaoke, a bunch of different karaoke events around the city, and he's a lot of fun. Just go out. He always runs a great show. Great guy. Monday night at Statler's in the Church Wellesley area.
Mm-hmm.
They've got musical theater open mic, which is amazing, run by Jenny Walls and Donovan Lenabbit. We go on Thursday night to his other open mic that he runs, also at Statler's, which is phenomenal. On Wednesday night at 120 Diner, there's GNO, run by good friend Lisa Particelli. She runs GNO Girls Night Out Jazz, where gentlemen are welcome. Great singers, great musicians, amazing, world-class musicians backing up singers who come in, and you get the mix. You get people who have
for sure
never been on stage before, or this is one of their first few times, but you also get people who have been on Broadway, who have been on amazing stages around the world. And like I said, the talent is amazing.
Well, the talent is there, right? The talent is there in such a large city. The talent is there to find. Now, I have to level with you, Michel, and for any of our listeners who have listened to episode 4 of Toronto Story Archive, Singing in the City, featuring Natasha Buckeridge, I have mentioned you on this podcast before, Michel, and that is because you're the guy who introduced me to Statler's in the first place, and I talked about my first experience.
I met Natasha Buckeridge, who has since become a great friend of ours. So,
see, it comes full circle. It goes full circle,
and that's how these relationships happen. Just one person meeting another person, go to an open mic, and Natasha's just an amazing singer, impressive on any level. Just go see her perform anywhere you can. She's fantastic. There's so many different places that we can go. So, I mentioned karaoke, live band, there are open mics. There's live music cafes. There are, and then there are the amazing buskers, people on the street who will blow you away.
It's so true.
I was walking on College Street and around in Little Italy. And my wife and I were walking there, and she strikes up a conversation. We start listening to this amazing singer. We love her, Kalina Raquel. We have since become fans of hers, and we follow her around to different areas. Last time we saw her, it was actually her birthday at Axis Bar and Grill in the Junction. So there's that place. We went to listen to some place. I'm just going to call out some places. Free advertising because we love those places. Good. Jazz at the Emmett Ray on College Street, further than Little Italy. The Hideout for some amazing rock musicians, amazing. And if you like your music up a little loud, go there. And sometimes we do. We dropped into a pub on Front Street, and we heard some great traditional Irish music. Reservoir Lounge on Front Street with some great swing jazz, swing blues, and some great soul. Great place to go to. Lula, you mentioned Soca. Lula Lounge seems to be Great place to listen to that kind of that kind of music. Soca, salsa, all kinds of Latin music there. Almost anywhere in Kensington Market. Just again, buskers, fantastic. What I know I'm missing stuff. I know, and that's just off the top of my head.
Well, it's impossible not to miss things, right? It's impossible not to miss things because the sheer quantity of talent and opportunities here is all too real. There's this one guy, and I've never honestly I've never spoken to him. I've never gotten his name, but if you are at Dundas Station, and let's say you show up on the northbound side of the platform, and you want to go to the southbound side, and you decide you're not going to go outside, you're going to go underground. There's this one guy
I know
that's
exactly
always
where
there.
you're talking about.
Exactly, and he's got this big, bushy white beard. It's like truly impressive beard, and he's fantastic. Like he's there, he's talented, he's always singing, he's always happy, he's always smiling, and he fundamentally adds to the culture of the location, the culture of the place. Because I mean, without music, I feel like taking the subway already a frustrating and occasionally depressing experience at the best of times would become so much worse. But Michel, and I don't usually drop the personal projects of our guests on Toronto Story Archive, but in your case, I do think that this adds to the conversation, and that is that you don't just experience musical culture within the city, you actively contribute to it, and anyone who's seen your work online would have seen something along the lines of what you're calling, I believe it's Michelle and Barbara's house concerts.
Funny you should mention that, because we're in the process of just creating a new Facebook event page for it, and on the ticketing platform, and that we use, and yeah, we're just going to do another one. Absolutely. So, that's an interest. And it really is a pet project of ours. And it's partly because there is so much talent in the city. There's so many amazing artists in the city. And let's face it, being a musician is not it's a wonderfully rewarding career, but it's not the easiest one out there. And
for sure.
And we were bringing. Anyway, we run into these amazing musicians all over the place, and my wife and I were chatting, and we said, well, what can we do to help out? And the idea, it was a friend of mine who performed at Mo Mondays. She was from Winnipeg, and she was telling me that she does house concerts around the world. When she goes around, she just organizes. I don't know how she does it. And that kind of like stuck in my head for a long time. And when I was having this conversation with Barbara, my wife, and I said, well, I know, why don't we just do house concerts? And we've got so many friends.
What is a house concert, though? What is a house concert?
So here's the honest truth. I've never been to anybody else's house concert, so I don't know how other people do it. We just did it because we wanted to do it. So a house concert, I'll tell you how we do it. Now, we got a little bit crazy with it. It became a little bit more than a pet project. We clear out our furniture on the main floor. I literally built a stage that I keep in my office downstairs, and I bring it upstairs for these house concerts. And so we clear out the main floor, and that allows us to fit anywhere from, say, 25 to, we've had as many as 70 people in this house. And we usually do it on a Friday or Saturday evening, although we've been known to do it on a Sunday afternoon, which is some people love a Sunday afternoon because they don't like to stay out late, but we like to combine it a little bit with a bit of a party atmosphere. We promote the heck out of whoever's coming, and they come over. They bring the sound gear, and which usually consists of an amplifier, microphone, and whatever they play. I've got a keyboard in the house if they need it, and and we just party. It's usually two sets of 45 minutes to 60 minutes with a bit of a break, because what I found is that people just love the social environment. So when you think about it, it's more intimate than a club. It's more fun than a club. And so it's kind of like if you could bash together, or the proper term, do a mashup of all the good things you like, and whether it's a party, live music, a get together with friends, just mash them all up together, and you have what we have at our house concerts. And so people love it because they can come alone and they'll make friends here. So it's not like where you go to a live music venue, and they have their place, and I love them too, as you could see. But you tend to be on your own. You wouldn't go to one of those places on your own, to one of those places. But here you come to our house, and it's our house. It's our house with our friends, half of whom we know and half of whom we're meeting for the first time. And that's really how it goes. And the musicians love it. And this was a surprise. I mean, in retrospect, it should not have been a surprise. But it was a surprise when we first heard it. And in fact, it was Natasha who told us this the first time when she played here. And she said, "Oh my God, you can see the whites of their eyes. This is an audience. So I got to do a big shout out to my friend Terry, he runs a holistic center not that far from here, and he's already got about 35 to 40 chairs that he uses for the center. And he said to me, "Michel, anytime you run a house concert, come over, pick up the chairs, and use them." So with that, and sometimes he brings them over here, which is awfully nice. And so, I mean, I'm not going to kid you. There's a lot of work, between clearing out the furniture, between preparing the food and the appetizers for the people who come, between setting up the chairs. It's a lot of work, more work than we ever signed up for. But I can tell you, it is so worth it. So we get the chairs from Terry, we set them up in rows, and the musicians love it because people fill up those chairs. And it's not like in a bar where you got to play or sing over the din of the bar. You have people's attention. It's a real concert experience where people are there for the music, they're attentive, and then we've got room at the back. We've even got, because I told you, we clear out the furniture, we've got a dance floor for people who want it. We've got a back deck for people who want to hang out in the back deck if the weather's nice, and it often is. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, I can say I've never seen anything like it before, but I already told you I've never been to anybody else's house concert.
But no, it's true, right? I mean, I touch on this because it's such a unique event for myself as well. I mean, the idea of house concerts is completely novel to me, but it hits, and this is like my business showing right now, it hits a target market that you don't often see. I mean, when you go to a bar, right? When you go to a bar, your primary purpose there is not usually the music. Well, maybe somewhere like Statler's it is, but in most places, when you go to a bar, you're there with friends, you're there with other people, and the music is like a piece of the art. It's a part of the background. It's something that adds to the atmosphere, but is not your primary attraction, right? Which must, in some way, I guess, frustrate some musicians who are there creating art in front of you, whether they're using unique music or a cover band of some kind. They are creating art right in front of you, and oftentimes we at these locations are too distracted to fully appreciate it. This gets even worse when you create a club environment, because now the music is a facilitator. The music is like the drinks or something like that. It's a facilitator of whatever else your purpose is at that club. But it's not often that you go there because the music's really good. The music has to be good for you to get there, but it's not the same connection between artist, musician, and the people listening to it as you experience in the more intimate atmosphere that you're describing.
Between sets, people hang out with the musician and chat with them and find out more of their story. They have an opportunity to share more of their story with the audience, both during their set and between sets and after the set. And sometimes we open it up at the end of the night. And we've had some amazing people. So Chris Burkett, whom you know, he was producer of Sinead O'Connor, so produced a whole bunch of, currently producing Buffy St. Marie's album off in Hawaii somewhere. He's an amazingly accomplished musician. We've had Sean Brady. He's a hard-working musician, plays everywhere around town. He's fantastic. We've become good friends. He played here. He's the one who packed the house with 70 people. So that was an amazing party, amazing concert. We didn't think our house could fit that many. And you know what? We would have squeezed more in if we could. And it was great time. And so I know you mentioned Mo Mondays, but this conversation started by what do I love about this city, and we were starting a conversation about how much music has really given back to us in this city. About Mo Mondays, and that probably because of the amount of talent that there is in the city, we started incorporating musicians at Mo Mondays. And again, it adds to the experience for people who go to Mo Mondays. And it just makes it much more of a variety of show. It's not just a storytelling event. It's not just fun and comedy. I mean, we get some amazing musicians who have performed there. And I'd be remiss. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Free Times Cafe. Judy Purley spoke at Mo Mondays. She has been running the Free Times Cafe for the last 35 years, with bastion of live, local, mostly folk singer-songwriter music right there on College Street. And Supermarket, also in Kensington Market. Fantastic place. And it's probably been one of the impetuses for me taking on music more seriously in my life. And as you know, Mo, you've come with me to Statler's at the open mic, and I sing, and I love it.
Absolutely.
It's a part of my life now that I would not want to give up. So right now I told you we're planning to go away for a couple of weeks. We're going to be in California. I'm online looking for live music open mics in San Francisco. And you know what? Yeah, they have them once in a while, but on a certain night of the month. This city, in Toronto, you can go pretty much any night of the week, and you will find a great venue for this kind of thing. You say, what do I love about this city? That's what I love about the city. It's not just the diversity, but it's the quantity of diversity. I don't know if that made any. Is that proper English? Can you say that?
I'm sure you can. But it does make sense, right? It does make sense. It's a conversation that I've had with many people, right? Like, why do you love Toronto? What do you love about Toronto? Why do you want to spend most of, if not all of your life living here? And it comes down to that. I can go out on any night of the week and find my flavor, find something I want to do. There's music somewhere, everywhere, any and every night of the week, if you just know where to look. And I'll be honest with you, half these places that you've mentioned on this segment alone, I haven't heard of them. Or I've heard of them, I haven't had the opportunity to go there, because I find that no matter how long you've lived in Toronto, there's always something else. It's impossible to get bored here because there's always something else, always something new, always somewhere new that you can go in order to find your flavor, find that diversity of experience or the quantity of diverse experiences that you're looking for, you know?
I think that Toronto is one of the most underrated cities in the world. It is so... First of all the things they say about Canadians, clean, polite, all of that stuff, well, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition...
It is?
yeah, in addition, there's the vibrancy of this city. There's the, like I said, I started out by saying the diversity of culture. I mean, go hang out in the middle of the summer in Kensington Market on one of the amazing patios and just listen to the languages that are passing by on the sidewalk.
It's very true. It's very true. We live in a city that the diversity of experience is born of the people and the vast number of people from different backgrounds and different cultural backgrounds that exist within the same place. And that's what allows us to experience all of those things. So, Michel, as someone who is involved in music, growing in music in your own life, I mean, I guess I have a question for you that is sort of broad, but it's something that I'm interested in your perspective on. And that is, in the world of today, we live in a world of, iTunes and Google Play, and I mean, Spotify's my personal one, right? But how can we, as members of this community, as members of Toronto as a city, contribute to the growth of that independent local music, that live music within the city, when the trend on the whole is moving away from purchasing music in and of itself and more streaming it, finding it on your phone or on your device of some kind?
Yeah,
do you feel that
at the same time that I'm saying this, I'm well aware that we've just lost the number of live music venues in the city. They've closed down. Rents have gone up. They've closed down. Can't keep up. So there is that challenge. And so if you're asking me to, what would I say to people? I say, well, go out and support them and be generous. Like, oh, okay. So I've learned this. I've picked this up from my wife, who's thank God for her. She's more generous than I am. See somebody that we like on the street, put in $5. Don't put in a loonie. Be generous with people because they enrich our lives. Be generous with people in the subway because they make walking through the subway a more enjoyable experience.
Absolutely. So, moving a little bit on from, I guess, the people around us and the music scene around us, I want to learn more about your musical journey, Michel. So, like, music has affected your life. Music clearly has had a deep impact on your life and your experience within this city. I mean, I think it was only, it feels like almost a few months ago that we went from talking about how you were interested in starting to learn the ukulele, right, to where you are now, ready and able to bust out the uke at Statler. So what about your musical journey within this city?
I think what we have here is an incredibly supportive group of people in this city. So when other musicians saw that I was singing seriously, taking voice lessons, and really working on my singing technique, expanding my repertoire. I don't go to these open mics and just, in fact, the big joke when I go to some of these open mics is what new song am I going to sing this time? So when they see me doing that, it's an incredibly supportive environment, and they're encouraging. So when I started picking up the ukulele, and I picked up the ukulele just because a friend of mine was over here last summer and said, oh, I brought my ukulele, and I picked it up and said, oh, I think I could do this. And then I got addicted and started taking that more seriously and playing it more seriously. So what we have in this city, and what I've noticed, is that it's not, and for all I know, this is the way people are all over the world. I think they are. I think musicians are a naturally supportive group of people. So they're very encouraging, and I'm getting a lot of support, a lot of help. And it's just a wonderful environment. So for me, it's become one of my passions, along with personal storytelling, which was the genesis and the core of Mo Mondays. But when you think about it, storytelling and music go together so well.
They are, and they do. If we look far enough back, right, before written language and whatnot, it was stories that would pass down information, stories and songs that would pass down information from one generation to the next. And it's always exciting to see to see anyone, unify those into a compelling narrative at the same time. You know, it's always exciting to see that in mainstream music, and it's still more exciting to see that when people are doing it locally. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he was telling me, I recommended a song to him. It's called Dead Man Walking by a band called Nomi, I believe. And he went ahead and he listened to the entire album. And this friend of mine, he always gives me the rundown of what an album means or what the story was behind it, because I'm very much a pick and choose the specific songs that I like kind of guy. And so he gave me the rundown of how the story was about this guy who was obsessing about some girl or something along that line. And he gave me this narrative, and I was just stunned because having, of course, only listened to a couple of songs, I didn't get that. I did not get the narrative. He's the guy who also explained to me what Green Day's American Idiot, that entire series of songs, what that album meant. So it's always an exciting, compelling opportunity to see that unification of narrative, of prose, of storytelling and music come together to deliver a message, to deliver an idea, to deliver a story to an audience. And I think you see that connection with the people who are listening to it, especially in, for example, the house concert world you're talking about, where you can see the whites of their eyes. So, Michel, I think the next question that I have for you, it comes a little bit more from your story as someone who is growing their career within the music, as a musician. And that is, let's say that someone tomorrow wanted to pick up a new instrument, pick up singing, pick up something else. How would you recommend they go about doing that? Because I feel like that is many times where people struggle. Because they're always like, yeah, I want to learn to play insert thing here, right? They want to play some sort of musician. They want to learn to sing. They want to do something else. But it's in a world where we're used to having to take lessons to get something done or go to school for something to have the knowledge to do it. You know, I feel that's where many people have false starts or fail to start at all.
So, first of all, I would say acknowledge that the curiosity and passion that you have for whatever it is that you want to pursue. Acknowledge it, because I truly believe that music is enriching for other people, and it's also one of the most enriching, expressive avenues that we have for ourselves. And I would encourage everyone to follow that passion and don't listen to that inner critic that says you don't have rhythm, or you don't have a voice, or you're tone deaf, or whatever it is, because all of this can be learned, all of it. I'm proof that you can learn it. Wherever you start, you can improve and you can learn. And then I would say, again, going back to the diversity of opportunity and the diversity of cultures and the diversity of events that are going on, just go out and meet other people who are interested in what you're interested in. There are so many meetup groups, for example. I know I've met, it's not my thing, but there are so many people who have joined a choir. There's a new choir starting up this fall that people should, there's so many of these things that are available to people. So I would say, go out. Go out. Come with us. We'll take you to a whole bunch of places, and you will find your tribe. You will. And that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Going on a patented Michel Neray tour of the city, tour of the musical venues in the city. That's fantastic. So, Michel, the last question that I have for you today is this. And I know you've given us a lot of places to go, a lot of things to see, a lot of new music venues to check out, but I'm greedy. So I want one more. So my question for you is, if you could recommend one place to be or one thing to do in Toronto, what would that be? It's tough. There's a lot to do in the city.
There's not one thing to do. I'd say start with put something on a dartboard, throw your dart at it, and go there.
No, that's completely fair. That is completely fair. I mean, in this segment alone, we've listed more music venues than I think I've ever personally attended in my life. And I think that for anyone who is interested in that musical scene, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to go out, choose one every new day of the week, and find something new that you can do. Find some new music to listen to. I mean, I know I certainly might start doing that. But Michel, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Toronto Story Archive. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mo. You made me think of all the places that I didn't mention. Now you're gonna have to follow this up with maybe a little blog post or something with a whole bunch of listings. But anyway, thank you so much for having me on this show. It's been fantastic. You made me remember how much I appreciate the city and the music in the city and the cultural diversity in the city. So thank you, Mo.
My pleasure. And that means that I've done my job. And that's a wrap for this week's episode of Toronto Story Archive. Each episode, we bring on guests from Toronto to tell us a story, any story about their life in the city. Our commitment is to not sell, pitch, or bore you. Our goal is to amuse, excite, and at the end of the day, entertain you with the stories told by the many voices Toronto has to offer. If you have a story to share, shoot me an email to submissions@torontostoryarchive.com. My name is Mo Waja, and thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Toronto Story Archive.